All right. I'm going to talk about a movie that I never really mentioned before. Next up, The Twilight Zone. Ooh, I know you're all familiar with that movie. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. You know that crazy music. I can't imitate it that well. Shut up, don't judge me. But anyway, I'm just going to get right to it. The Twilight Zone is a movie that came out sometime in 1983, and I think somebody ended up dying in it in real life. Somebody named Vic Morrow or something like that. Anyway, so the movie opens up with this cheesy narration, and the guy basically says that this guy, I forgot the guy's name, the narrator says that his hatred for other people, I guess he meant minorities, is about to catapult him into the darkest corners of the Twilight Zone. Like you couldn't have seen that one coming. Wow, you just had to throw that word in there somehow, didn't you? The Twilight Zone. What is the Twilight Zone? Where is it? Is it a place? Is it a time? I mean, that was never really established. What is the Twilight Zone? I've always wondered that. Rod Serling calls everything the Twilight Zone. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, what? What is this Twilight Zone that he keeps talking about? Is it a place? What is it? What is it, Rod? What is this Twilight Zone that you speak of? You keep talking about it. So the guy is in a bar and he's a racist. And the guy that's in this first segment is played by a guy named Vic Morrow. So he's in this bar and he's, saying these racist things about Jews and blacks, and he's using the N-word and all that. And then he gets transported to some sort of Nazi camp or something like that. And the narrator is like, he's gonna be catapulted into the darkest corners of the Twilight Zone. No, he was catapulted into the back of a truck. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that show just as much as the next guy, but you people exaggerate with the whole Twilight Zone thing. I mean, it's really not that serious. I could just be taking a dump in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, Rod Serling will come in there. Meet the Michael Myers fanatic. He has a lot of troubles in his life, and right now he's using the bathroom. But what he doesn't know is this particular bathroom is no ordinary bathroom. This is a bathroom known as the Twilight Zone. I'm not trying to turn you against the movie or anything, but they take that whole Twilight Zone thing to the extreme. I'm not in the Twilight Zone. I'm in a bathroom. It's not that serious. Anyway, getting back to the movie, there's not even much to talk about with the Twilight Zone movie. The guy is taken away, and he learns not to be racist anymore. It's not really a big lesson in that. As a matter of fact, I don't even think he gets another chance. I forgot what the second segment was. I think it was Kick the Can. Okay, so you're telling me that by kicking a can, you could turn into a child again. Wow. I really don't know what to say about that. I'm at a loss for words. I really am. It really wasn't that interesting. Basically, you have two old guys. One old guy is fun, and the other one is a stick in the mud. One guy's all like, oh, we're gonna get young again and we're gonna be able to play with children. And, we just have to kick the can. And all of a sudden, some random black guy comes along and he's supposed to be hope incarnate. So basically, he tells them about the magic of youth. Wow, that's good. The magic of youth. Okay. Couldn't really care less. So then, basically, one guy learns the secret behind the can and he turns into a child, but then he realizes that the bad thing about turning into a child, he's going to have to start all over again. Yeah, like you couldn't have seen that one coming. So we move on to the third segment. The third segment was unique. It was about this boy that was so lonely and he had all these powers. So he used the power to trap people. I guess he wanted them to be his slaves. And what a coincidence! Bill Mumy, or whatever that jabroni's name is, he makes a cameo. And he was in one of the earlier episodes of The Twilight Zone from 1963 as Anthony. Oh yeah, and get this. What is the boy's name in this segment with the powers? Anthony. Couldn't have seen that one coming. So basically, Anthony brings a teacher to his house, and then the people in the house tell the teacher that she's not there by accident, that he set the whole thing up with his powers, and she says, I can teach you how to use the powers for good. That's basically it. And then we get to our fourth and final segment, and there's a creature on the wing of the plane. And once again, here we go again with that cheesy narration. Destination, the Twilight Zone. No, your destination is the ground. If you run out of fuel, what is this Twilight Zone that you keep talking about? Basically, there's a creature on the wing of the plane and nobody believes the guy. There's really not a lot to this movie. What is this Twilight Zone that you speak of? Where is it? What is it? But anyway, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Dan Aykroyd plays a part in this movie. He and some random guy are driving down the road and they happen to be discussing classic television, and then Dan Aykroyd turns and says, did you ever watch The Twilight Zone? So you're talking about The Twilight Zone in The Twilight Zone. Wow. And then he says, hey, you want to see something scary? And he pulls his face off. I guess that's supposed to be scary. And he kills the guy, and it cuts to the theme song. Kind of like this. Yeah, that's the Twilight Zone theme. You hear it playing? But anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic. I know that was one of the worst things you've ever seen, but it's just something you're gonna have to get over. It's not my fault they did a horrible job with the movie. And you might say, well, fanatic, why are you trashing it? Because they could have done more with it. Let me get this right. You have a drunk racist. That's number one. Number two, you have a bunch of old people at a retirement home. Number three, you have a little boy that has no family and wants to keep everybody in his house. And number four, you have a guy that sees a creature on the wing of a plane. That's not the Twilight Zone, that's life. All those scenarios can be found in real life. You didn't have to make a movie about that. But then again, does the Twilight Zone really exist? Who knows? Ask yourself this before you go to sleep tonight. Do you exist? Of course you do, but in what way do you exist? Do you actually exist, or are you just part of someone's imagination? Do you live in this country, in this world, or do you live instead in the Twilight Zone?